Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today to hear our talk. I've been told that I have to almost kind of eat the microphone, so sorry if this looks a bit odd just because of all the surrounding noise. My name is Oana Jinga. I'm one of the co-founders and chief commercial and product officer at Dexory. And together with my colleague Chris, who leads our product roadmap and strategy, we're going to talk to you guys about AI today. So first of all, we're not here to pitch AI. I think all of us kind of understood and pretty much got to grips with the idea that AI is the future no matter what we do. I was actually in a conference in San Francisco last week called MODEX, where all the big minds in AI kind of came together. And somebody actually told me, like, if your customers ask you about the ROI of AI, they've kind of already lost the battle. Like, it is the future, and we kind of have to get a grips of it, as I was saying, and pretty much adopt it across our business. So, of course, at Dexory, we are in the robotics and AI sector already, and we kind of try and do everything with different tools, like from marketing and sales to like product development. But we are aware that a lot of our customers sometimes kind of struggle to bring different technologies into their business, especially with AI, because you are still kind of very much asked to go through your typical business case reviews and kind of building all the internal financials. So what we're here today to do is actually break down the AI myth in very specific steps and very specific benefits that AI brings to the warehousing space, and help you guys pretty much on that journey to kind of build those internal business cases. Very, very clear examples where AI can already bring benefits. So before I kind of move forward with the whole AI talk, I think just a few words about Dexory and why we feel like we're one of the authorities in the field. So for those of us who haven't met us yet, or haven't seen us, or who aren't using us yet, we are a robotics and AI company, originally based in the UK, but we now have teams all across North America, Europe, Australia, the Middle East. We work with pretty much all the big logistics providers, a lot of manufacturers as well, likes of Stellantis and Tesla are some of our big customers. And what we do, we use autonomous robots to capture data inside warehouses. We have a booth in Hall B if you want to come and see the robots themselves. These are 60 feet tall robots that pretty much scan warehouses continuously on a daily basis and create digital twins of everything that you have inside that warehouse. That means racking, space, goods, everything kind of on top of that, to constantly have exactly the right understanding of what is in every single site that you might own. So we're over 250 people now, like I said, over 11 markets deployed, and working with all these big players pretty much helped us gain over 1 billion pallets scanned over the past, 3 years since we launched. So I think the one point that I wanted to start on is this kind of 1 billion number, because the first thing to actually be able to build an AI product, you need data. And we're going to talk about data quite a lot in the presentation today. But we've learned so much by pretty much understanding how these spaces work day after day after day, how they change due to the velocity of the goods. So the team's kind of working on the ground. And we continuously kind of digitize these spaces for our customers. We see how they interact with that data, what they do with the data. And from there, obviously ourselves, we keep developing the products that we offer to make sure that they meet those requirements and those needs. So we don't just kind of build a product in the cloud and go away from it. We have customer success teams that walk daily with the warehouse operations teams. What is it that they're doing with the product? What else would they like from it? Hence why the talk today will refer directly to those site teams and exactly what they do with AI. So here at MODEX, we launched what you see here underneath DexoryView Adapt, which is our latest kind of product feature. Again, you can come to our booth and see it, but where that really kind of stands out is it brings together 3 very important data sets. So on the one hand, it's kind of what you see there in the middle in green. It's all the data and information that we capture with the robots ourselves. So this means that on a continuous basis, every single day, you know exactly what you have in each location, how much space is available, what the racking conditions are. If like there's a broken rack and you know you can't put stuff on it, then obviously that should be removed from your systems. So everything that has to do with exactly that reality of the site. Then on the left-hand side, we normally integrate with your warehouse management system. We kind of know all kinds of different rules that you have in the site, slotting rules, any kind of compliance that we need to bear in mind, SLAs that you might have with your customers. So pretty much how the site should operate. And then on the right-hand side, thanks to LLMs and where agentic AI and AI altogether is going, we can now tap into this huge worldwide knowledge base of best practice in warehousing and logistics. So you're kind of bringing the theory to the exact kind of reality of the site from the data that we have, but also to how the site should operate, which means that a lot of the insight that we're giving our customers and the actions that we're giving to them are specifically based on contextual to their needs. So that's a very, very important thing, again, to AIs. If it's just general, it's great, but doesn't really apply to us. But being able to make it very contextual is, again, very, very important for it to kind of bring benefits. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So what are we here to talk about? I think, again, we're going to move from a few elements of theory to very specific needs of warehousing teams. And at the end of it, trying to kind of wrap it all up with some very, very specific action points you can pretty much take away from here and start implementing as of, well, we kind of set Monday at the end of the deck, because I'm not sure how long you guys are going to be here, but pretty much the moment you're back in your sites. So I'm going to start to understand very quickly, like, how many of you normally start your day by firefighting something in your warehouse? Normally ask for a raise of hands, but everyone's taking pictures of the slides, so I'm gonna ignore that. But I think across the key kind of, I think, core resources that we're seeing in a site, which is normally labor, inventory, and space, on a continuous basis, teams are telling us that every morning they have to get their heads around, like, what's going on? Why are teams not being efficient? Why is inventory missing from where it should be? How can I plan the space better when I actually don't even know how much space I have available? So there's a lot of kind of wasted resources across these kind of three categories where AI can kind of come in and really bridge that gap and help every single day pretty much kind of answer a lot of the questions and just move you into action as you move on. And I think apart from just the reality of the problems on a day-to-day, the other kind of side of it is, I'm pretty sure a lot of you, obviously I don't know which kind of roles you have in your organizations, but you're hearing all the time internally, we have to adopt AI. The board wants us to use AI, but there's not specifics in like what exactly should we be doing with it? Where are we going to bring it in? Like where do we even start, right? So a lot of the things that we normally kind of tell our customers is to actually kind of take a step back and move from the abstract to the concrete and actually kind of look at the day-to-day jobs. So bring it back into the reality of the day job, focus on the impact that AI could have for that particular job, and then move as quickly as you can into action. So what we're going to do today, again, is kind of go through all the different jobs that we normally interact with and make that very specific for those jobs, for those decisions that they have to make. So I think, yeah, we're going to walk through a warehouse. I'm going to pass over to my colleague Chris in a second, and then look at it pretty much before and after AI, to understand in very, very kind of practical terms how kind of situation may change. And a few things that you should walk away with. Again, I'm going to wrap it up at the end to bring this back together. But looking at like what is actually changing once you bring AI into your flow, how can you kind of change the mindset and internally to kind of move from pretty much kind of problem solving and data to action. And lastly, like a very simple framework that is not technical at all, that you can kind of take onto your day-to-day. So I'm going to pass over to Chris now to talk through all the different roles in the warehouse.
Thank you very much. So we are going to meet the team at DC Logistics, as an organization we've made up, and we'll take you through the roles of 3 different people in their lives as an experience pre-AI, as it often is today, and what that could look like in a world with AI in the loop. But I think it's key. This isn't just a story about technology. Yes, technology is an enabler in this conversation. This is about the people carrying the operational complexity on their shoulders every single day and what it means to them in terms of their work, how they're feeling, what they're doing. So meet Amir, Jess, and Lewis. Amir's obviously an ops manager. Jess is the shift supervisor. And Lewis is really looking after facilities, safety, compliance, and things like this. I think what you should bear in mind here is that these are 3 different roles, but there's a lot of shared kind of operating system in how they do their work. And we're going to look at these in the lens of flow, space, and risk. This is a shared pain that these people have as well. So it shows up slightly different in each role, but I think you'll see there's a common thread here. So let's start with Amir. We're going to start here by grounding in the current operating reality of his role. And then we'll go through the rest. So, it's 7:45 in the morning. Amir's got his coffee in his hand. His phone's buzzing. He's got loads of inbound coming to his desk from his team. Extensive customer research has said that he's not really enjoying that coffee. It's likely going to be cold. But that's the reality he's operating in. There's a lot of noise. And a lot of his job is to really cut through that noise and get to the key signal. Like, what does he really need to do in that day to be effective? And I think the key here is it's not like it's the speed with which he can cut through that signal. And is it really, really going to impact him in today? Like when he could really make a change to the warehouse? Or can he make a change in this week? Often that goes way beyond. So his mission is, how do I get through the noise as quickly as possible? He knows these throughputs behind. And this is what I'd really class as like the reactive avalanche. He's in this situation where he's firefighting, he's behind on his throughput targets, he's got all of these issues in his backlog. And then there's this whole 4 hours to diagnose. I think in a lot of cases, this is actually quite conservative. And what I mean here is, he's got this noise, he knows what's wrong, how does he get to the why? How does he get to the root cause, which is really going to be where he can make big change and move the operation forward. We often hear this is, we need to go through multiple spreadsheets, we need to collaborate with lots of departments. Maybe it's a skills and know-how gap. Maybe there isn't a BI team available to help you analyze this information. So really, like, often that can be days or weeks until you get to that real answer of like, what is the crux of the problem here? Because right now I'm firefighting it every day, and that's fine. I've got the visibility to know where to fight my fires now. But how do I really change the warehouse? So by the time the organization has stitched together an explanation, the warehouse has often moved on. And let's look at some numbers behind this. This isn't like trivial. 685,000 to 1.5 million out events say you unlock by 1% accuracy improvement. 400 to 600K annual mispick count, cost count for a single warehouse. 33% of customers consider switching after one bad fulfillment experience. And the number on the left looks a little bit small by comparison, which is the wasted time from Neil pick chasing alone. The thing we've uncovered on this number is that it's not just that number, it snowballs. Often warehouses don't know the cost of the snowballing effect. So it's the replen, the consolidation, the ongoing workflow challenges that you have after that number that really start to mount up. And I think here, this is where you have the whole operational friction stops being a process issue and starts to become a massive commercial issue. So let's jump over to Jess. It's 2:15 in the afternoon. She's got 22 pallets in inbound. The WMS says there's 34 slots available. She's sent trucks out to these locations, and not all of them are genuinely free. So now she's wasting travel time. Operators are getting frustrated. So the physical reality keeps contradicting the system, and every contradiction really costs cost, time, movement, confidence of the team. So she knows the system's broken. Travel time's eroding quickly. She's lost 40 minutes already of travel time in this shift. 25 to 30% of the space is not being effectively used. She hasn't got good visibility of, what's the true available space, how optimized is it, what consolidations are available to me. It's a compounding problem. Pressures are rising for her. Inbound needs clearing, needs must so pallets get put where they can. And then you end up in a situation where you've got slotting issues. So you can see this starts to snowball for her. And I think, there's even downstream effects from this, like unloading, demurrage charges, and so on like this. This problem grows big. So what this becomes is not just a space problem, it becomes a decision quality problem. And that's what we're really talking about here. How do you make better, faster decisions? If we jump across to Lewis. Lewis has got 50,000 rack locations in this warehouse. It's 5 o'clock and he's only managed to check 2% of them. There's a lot of weight on his shoulders. He's looking at things like product quality for the end customers. He's looking at health and safety issues. It takes him 6 to 8 weeks to get around this warehouse, but actually issues are happening daily and he's having to really chase his tail to get on top of this. There's a lot of weight on his shoulders. And let's look at some of the numbers around this then. OSHA, annual US cost of rack collapse incidents, 36 billion. Damage, misplacement, and undetected deterioration of product, 132 billion. That's Capital One and NOF. The point is, he's part of a really big industry problem, and he feels the weight of that. And then on the right, we've got a tiny number by comparison, 320 product loss per pallet per year from one warehouse. I think it looks like a tiny number, but if I said to any of you who operate warehouses, you could have $3.20 per pallet for all the pallets in the year back on your bottom line, that number's going to scale pretty quickly. So he's a part of a big issue. And his problem is it's an environment he can't fully see at the rate he needs to see it. And I think this is partly due to the fact that these systems weren't designed for warehouses moving at this speed and scale. And this isn't just a trivial thing. It's not just this example. It's not a theoretical thing. This shows up in customer conversations we're having every day, every week. There's a constant frustration attached to these things. We know something's wrong, but we don't know, can't see it quickly enough. We can't get to the root cause of it quickly enough to really intervene and really impact the here and now. And I think when we operate blind, it's not just hitting one metric. It hits service, efficiency, morale of the team, and often that one's quite overlooked. The teams become busy, they're under-informed, and obviously sometimes that becomes quite a dangerous combination. So what we end up with is what I'm going to refer to here as like organizational drag. It's holding your business back from growth opportunities, from operational efficiency and things like this. So we're going to take a pause. There was a lot of big numbers that are impacting these businesses. There was a lot of pain and frustration that you could see through the current workflows. And like I say, we have these conversations every day with our customers. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at the same warehouse, same people, same problems. But I want you to think, in a world where my warehouse is getting real-time data back every day, an AI layer is watching over the data, and agents are helping form recommendations and decisions for you. What could that look like? So let's go back to Amir. As much as he might like to be, Amir is not sat on the beach in this world of AI. That is not his new reality. He's actually still really, really important in this world of AI. Him as an expert is key. But his world will look and importantly feel quite different. So, 7:45 again. He's got his coffee in hand, which hopefully is going to be warm this time. And he's in his AI-powered briefing. And what could that look and feel like? Recommendations and insights are flowing into Amir. He's opened up his morning report. That's telling him where his KPIs are looking good, where they're looking bad, what opportunities he has, what risks he has. What are his prioritized list of actions based around impact? He's really now empowered to get action-oriented and really make a change in the business. Throughout the day, he's getting proactive notifications of things that he didn't know were upcoming problems. They could be telling him about upcoming slotting issues. They're telling him about risks and opportunities of things he can get ahead of the curve on. They'll give him recommendations. They'll give him the data to dive into, the context, all of the things he needs to go from, I don't know something's happening, to I'm empowered to make a decision as quickly as possible. So when we described those hours and days earlier, we're now talking about getting to the same situation within minutes and seconds. So how's his day looking and feeling different? He's gone from this world of triaging loads of alerts, all that noise I described on his desk, to a world where he's got clustered root causes. He's got a prioritized list of work. He's able to respond to his customers a lot more effectively and a lot quicker. He understands the patterns within his business. He's really he's gone from a world of having no forensics to being an investigator with a crime lab. So this doesn't replace him, as I said. He's not now on the beach with his favorite book. It strengthens his work with evidence, pattern recognition, and speed is important. So what's Amir doing now? Obviously, his world changed. Potentially, he's got a lot more time on his hands. And I think this is really, really key for when you look at your employees and think, how can they act different? He's now leading his team more effectively. He's engaging with people on the warehouse floor. He's thinking more strategically. Maybe he's looking at continuous improvements. He's engaging with his end customers. And holistically, he's just being more proactive across the board, working on higher leverage and higher value-adding activities. And this is really important because he's really shifted from reactive management to what I'd class as operational leadership. And this is about using people to greater effect. Let's jump back to Jess. It's 2:15 in the afternoon again. Now she's proactively planning her team's work from data-driven insights. How does it look and feel? She's working with a squad of agents that are analyzing real data in real time to decide on the next best actions to take. There'll be consolidation recommendations coming to her, replenishment considerations and recommendations. These really are Jess's force multiplier at this point. And this is where visibility becomes like operational self-awareness and awareness of what the warehouse is really doing. Again, the same for Jess. She's got confidence. She's got a true picture of what's going on. Waste's getting reduced. Travel time's getting reduced significantly. She now knows what consolidation opportunities to go after. They've been laid out to her. She knows the true space she's got available. So this is about removing that guessing game and becoming something, the warehouse becoming something she can actively shape. She's been a lot more proactive. She's empowered. She's autonomous to go and do the work she needs to do. And let's look at Lewis. Same 50,000 locations, but now he's got some confidence. That weight's going to be slightly lifted off his shoulders. He's got 100% coverage per day on all of those issues that he was only getting 2% coverage on before. So he's not really just checking anymore. He's gone into the reducing operational risk in real-time mode. And that's a really important point. So this is where AI really becomes Lewis's extra pair of eyes. The AI is hunting through images from the real-time data, looking for things such as broken pallets, hanging shrink wrap, that could be fire tails, tipping goods, broken, damaged product. Anything he's interested in, the AI will be looking for. It's important to note here, and a bit like the Lewis scenario with, he's not going to be on the beach. This isn't going to make safety decisions for him. What it is doing is empower him, making sure these risks are visible so he can be the expert in the loop to make the decisions. Again, I think the key things here are, he's got that 100% coverage. He's got a prioritized list of the high impact things to go after. It's auditable, it's time-stamped. He's got the image, he's got that record in place to go, have confidence about what he's doing in his work. But maybe you're still thinking, so what, all of this, so what? I think, the most important shift here is emotional as much as it is operational. The warehouse feels calmer. Actions arrive with structure, confidence, sequence. So before, it's the same warehouse, same team, but fundamentally better decision environment. And like the Lewis situation, it's not removing that need for people. It's changing the speed, quality, and confidence in their decision-making capabilities. Better, faster decision-making. And I think we can put a little bit of a framework around all of this. Same warehouse, same team, but we are talking about a fundamentally different operating model at this point. I'll call out just a few. We've gone from lagging to continuous and evidence-based. We've gone from manually stitching data across multiple systems to guided answers with context. Before we had a situation where things are reported after the fact. You've already felt the pain. You've already felt the cost problems. Now we're intervening as it occurs in the day, in the week, before those costs, before those issues become a cost. So this all matters massively, I think, strategically, because it's better visibility is useful, but better decisions are what really create value, and that's what we're talking about. So, what can you all do? I'm going to hand back over to Oana to find out.
Thanks so much, Chris. So I think, as we mentioned earlier, I just want to wrap up this the whole session with some very kind of clear action points and lessons that you can take on right now. I'm sure some of you might have resonated with some of the examples, but as we said, we are not sure what part of the organization you're in. But the one thing for sure is that you can definitely kind of move already and kind of ask your teams what they feel about some of these. So I think the few lessons from this journey that I definitely kind of think you can take away right now. So number one is actually start looking at the workflows. Don't start with the technology. We have this multiple times from our customers, and we see that across the board. People get excited about a piece of tech, and then they try and bring it in, try and fit it in somewhere in the organization. And then you see a lot of these kind of pilots really kind of failing because they actually started with the tech first, not with the problem. So the one thing we would always say, kind of think about what does your day look like for Amir? What does it look like for Jess? Just speak to your teams on the floor and understand where those gaps are, where you can actually kind of augment them. Which takes me to kind of lesson number 2, as we kind of heard earlier from Chris. AI is here to augment all the people on the floor. It's not here to replace. If the immediate kind of thinking is like, okay, I'm going to bring different technology in and that's going to reduce my FTE count, I think that's kind of starting on the wrong side of technology. Always kind of try and start from the point where you can actually augment the team that you have, get them to be a lot more productive, and then automatically you could just do a lot more as a business. And third, and probably the most important, this is why I said that we're going to talk a little bit about data. Having the right data to begin with is absolutely essential, because if you put bad data into the systems, of course, you're going to get really random results back. You're going to look at them and say, okay, none of these actions mean anything for me. I'm not actually going to do anything that the technology recommends. So this is where technologies like us and Dexory kind of come in, because having that real-time view of the site continuously, we kind of know exactly what the reality is on the floor, rather than what the WMS assumes. Or for instance, like if you have a CAD file from like 2 years ago when the warehouse was built, of course, a lot of that layout and structure would have changed multiple times since then. So having that real-time data, again, is very, very important. And where can you actually start? I think we kind of have these 3 action points that we talk about, which is observe, detect, and decide. So observe goes again to like just walk on the floor of your warehouses, have a look around, try and see like where do you see gaps, understand where, kind of hear your teams and understand what's actually kind of going well and not on a daily basis, on a daily operations. Then kind of move on from that observation to detecting and get a little bit of an understanding where are the patterns repeating themselves? Where can the root cause of some of these issues be coming from? And then from there, move into that decision point. And as I was saying earlier, by understanding that workflow, then look at the right technology and automation and understand what can I do right now about some of these things. So a few questions that you can take on with you for your Monday morning conversations next week. One is like, okay, what is my internal reality across all of these spaces? We talk a lot now about physical AI. I'm pretty sure you would have heard that term in the media on LinkedIn. I mean, we've been in robotics and AI for over 10 years, so we're just very excited that people finally talk about physical AI, because we've seen a lot of the, obviously what's happening with ChatGPT, with Claude, and all the stuff about the digital side of AI. However, now that's moving into our physical reality, and warehouses, of course, are extremely physical, living and breathing ecosystems. And the data from those spaces just didn't exist before. And now we are here to kind of bridge that data gap, which means that you can actually look at your physical reality rather than just kind of all the digital systems that you had before. So with that physical reality, like try and figure out like what do my teams currently don't have time to do? What can they actually do better on a day-to-day basis? And the last question is like what questions don't I have answers to, especially when it comes to that physical side of the warehouse. And I think, yeah, once you kind of start asking yourself these kind of continuously, and you also reach out to your teams, it's going to help kind of get to an action point quite quickly around what you need to address. So I think kind of moving on and kind of wrapping things up, we do have a booth, as I was saying, kind of in Hall B, and we do have a competition. So we announced here DexoryView Adapt. So we are trying to figure out from kind of people that are attending MODEX, like if you could ask your warehouse any question, what would that be? So we'd love to kind of hear your thoughts. If you want to come over to the booth, you can enter a competition and you can win one of our Lego robots, 1 meter tall. So if you're into Lego, I definitely recommend coming in. But it's also a great opportunity to kind of give us that feedback around, okay, if I am to actually embrace this product or just overall AI, like what would I like it to do for me? So we'd love to have that conversation with you guys if you want to come back to our booth. And I think with that, just wanted to thank you all so much and open it up for some questions. I think we have about 10 minutes for that. If anyone wants to raise their hand, I think we've got a microphone there. I can come over to you. But we're also going to be around to take some of those one-to-one if you prefer to do that. So thank you so much for everything. Do we have any questions in the room? No, we answered everything. Perfect. You're all going to just go in and change the way you do things. Thank you so much.